we pray. Kneeling low, hear what we say. Freedom calls in every tone. Faith is built on hearts of stone. Vibes so raw, can't hide the truth. Words so sharp, they cut right through. Real talk for the soul's appeal. Prayers rise up the wounds they heal. Lift our voices to the sky. A righteous perspective high. On this path we won't back down. For the Father wears the crown. Each step brings another fight. Breaking chains, we're seeking light. Voice of power won't be tamed. With His love, we're never shamed. Lift our voices to the sky. A righteous perspective high. On this path we won't back down. For the Father wears the crown. From the ashes we shall rise. Hope is found deep in our eyes. Every word a battle cry. With the Father none deny.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to ARP in the morning. Appreciate you guys pulling up. I hope all is well with you all out there. It's happy Thursday, or happy Thursday to you guys, but I guess Friday Eve for a lot of folks out there. Obviously, this is a long weekend coming up. Memorial Weekend is coming up. So Memorial Day is on Monday, and I'm sure a lot of you guys will have a long weekend out there. I haven't made my mind up if I want to have a long weekend or not. You know, are we going to do the show on Monday, or are we going to, observe Memorial Day like the rest of you guys? I hadn't made the decision yet. I'll know probably tomorrow, if that's going to happen or not. But what's going on, everybody? Hope all is well. Hope all is well. Shout out to Redivine Queen pulling up first thing this morning, 8:36 a.m. Shout out to you. She says, good morning, almost Friday. Have a blessed day, ARP fam. Shout out to you, Redefine Queen. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What up, Lori Otteson? Scott Jung out of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Appreciate you pulling up. PK Krillin, another Tennessee brethren. Appreciate you pulling up. What up, Quincy James? How's it going this morning? Hope all is well. What up, Lori? Oh, I said what's up to Lori already, but what's going on with you? Hope all is well. What up, Big Job Ford, American Girl? How's it going this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. Jane Fecto, how's it going this morning? Shelby died. Billboard Bills, what's going on? Delinda House, how's it going this morning? Appreciate you all pulling up. Now, we do have 100 people in the building already, and that is freaking phenomenal. Make sure you hit that like button. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button for me. That is the only cost to join the live stream, is to hit that like button, man. So if you haven't done so, please make sure you do that for me. Appreciate you guys. Hope all is well. What's up, Insanity's darling? Richmond, Virginia in the building. Shout out to you. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What up, Billy W? What's going on? We got Marla in the house. What's going on with you? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Who else we got up in here? All right. What's going on, LJ Taylor? How's it going this morning? Appreciate you pulling up this morning, sister. What up, Maga Tamara? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. She said, did everyone hear about the couple, that was killed outside of the museum out in DC? And the dude said he did it for Gaza. No, I hadn't heard about that yet, and I live out this way. I hadn't heard about that yet. I have to do some research on that. That's crazy. That is crazy. Goodness gracious, for Gaza? Really? Sheesh. What up, Thea Flies High? K Road 3. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What up, Lonnie King? How's it going this morning, brother? Hope all is well. We might have to pivot from some of the other things that I had to talk about today. We might have to pivot into that, see if I can find an article about that. It's crazy. I'm sure there's something out there about it. I'm gonna look into it and see if I can pull it up. That is nuts. What's going on, Dion? How's it going this morning, sister? Appreciate you pulling up. Hope all is well with you out there in the loo. What's up, Playboy Billy? How's it going this morning, brother? Hope all is well with you. What's up, Tracy Day? How's it going this morning? Krista Knight, Diane, how's it going this morning? What up, Mark? How's it going? Nashville in the building. Shout out to you all. We got Barb Blake in the building. Appreciate you pulling up. Elijah Burnett, appreciate you pulling up this morning, brother. Hope all is well with you. Brian Gable, appreciate you pulling up this morning. Checking in from Cabo. Look at you, bragging. Flex a lot. Flex a lot. What up, Donald Lovejoy? How's it going? Francis Finnerty. Appreciate you pulling up. Kevin Caldwell. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Hope all is well with you guys. Amber Young, what's going on with you? What up, Lionheart? Midnight Rider. Appreciate your Midnight Rider Gary. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. He says, good morning, ARP family. Spread lots of love. God bless all. And have a beautiful and blessed day. Shout out to him, man. That's awesome. Appreciate that. What else we got going on? Yeah, put it down in the chat, man. LJ Taylor wants to know, and I want to know too. What do you guys have planned for the holiday weekend? I know out here in Maryland, it's not supposed to rain, but it's not going to be hot outside. I don't know how many cookouts and things of that nature will happen. It's not going to be blazing hot, but it's been raining. It's raining today. It's supposed to, let up by tomorrow. But yeah, the ground, like if you're trying to do a cookout, out here, I'm sure the grass and the ground and all that type of stuff is going to be nasty out. So, but let me know what you guys are doing in the chat this weekend. Let me know. I'm interested to hear what you guys have planned, for Memorial Weekend. Obviously, Memorial Day, and I was talking this conversation yesterday, just about the importance, of Memorial Day and just, that remembrance, of our fallen soldiers, our fallen veterans, our fallen service members, people who have served this nation, who have, gone on to the Lord. And, I really, really appreciate, that this particular holiday coming up. I know everybody gets together. It's a day off and everybody gets together, for cookouts and things of that nature. But ultimately what it's really about is just to make sure that we continue to, never forget and continue to pay homage to, those who have served this nation, who have worn a uniform. And, I definitely appreciate them and their sacrifice, and their family sacrifice, for this great nation that we live in, that so many of us tend to take for granted, unfortunately. It's a great celebration, and Billy W., you're absolutely right. It's a great celebration, of our fallen veterans, and just to make sure that they are never forgotten. Never forgotten. What's up, JVG Chase? What's up, Wendy? How's it going this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. But yeah, I definitely want to know what you guys have planned for this weekend, with it being a long weekend. What's up, Jeffrey Wisnot out of Sevierville, Tennessee? What's going on? Giants 82, appreciate you pulling up this morning. We got Rose Beth in the house. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What's up, Christy? Chi-Town in the house. Betty Mercado, Tampa, Florida in the building. Appreciate you pulling up this morning, sister. Hope all is well. Sherry Roberts, appreciate you pulling up. Who else we got up in here this morning? What's up, Cherie? How's it going this morning? Appreciate you pulling up this morning out of Florida. Hope all is well. All right, we got Michelle Roderick. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Thank you very much. And no worries. I enjoy this song while it's playing. I'm sitting here singing it. I've listened to this song I don't know how many times, so I know it by heart for sure. And I definitely enjoy it. But let's get the show started. What's up, Seaburger? If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that like button for me. What's up, Reza Mahmood? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Peace and blessings to you, brother. If you haven't hit that like button, please make sure you do so. We have 148 people in the chat thus far. And we're going to kick things off. Obviously, you guys seen the thumbnail, you seen the title. I want to show you guys the video itself. We're going to flip to, Trump, President Trump, and South African President Ramaphosa. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name properly. I'm going to show you that, but then we're not going to watch the video as they sit and watch it. I want you guys to see the actual full video, and it's a little louder as well. So I want you guys to see that as well, and we're going to kick things off from there. We're also going to discuss the jailbreak that happened down in New Orleans. We're going to discuss that briefly. We will have a call-in show today, so I'd love to hear, your thoughts on, Trump's meeting with the president from South Africa or the New Orleans jailbreak that happened down there that no one wants to take accountability for, which is crazy. And if any of you guys know anything about New Orleans, I mean, it is blue no matter who. It's all Democrat led. It's all female led right now. I don't know if you guys knew this, and we'll get into that a little later, but yeah, everything about New Orleans right now is woman led. From the mayor to the chief to the superintendent. It's all woman led, and it's not looking good. And no one wants to take accountability for the jailbreak. And right now, as we sit, there are still 5 people at large. Now, these are people that have committed some pretty heinous acts out there. What's going on, RJ Hudson? How's it going this morning? So let's get into the show. Leslie Aaron says she got a Layla Hathaway concert and then chill the rest of the long weekend. I hear that. All right, now. I haven't been to a good concert in a long time, and the music these days are trash, so I wouldn't dare go and try to see any of these new artists. They all suck. But make sure you hit that like button for me if you haven't done so already. And y'all make sure y'all show some love to Wendy. Happy birthday to Wendy, or as I like to say, born day. Happy day of your birth. Hope all is well. Hope you enjoy the day. Hope you enjoy your day. Enjoy it. It is a blessing to, get a chance to see, another day, honestly, another year, on this planet, on God's green earth. I mean, that's awesome, man. So happy birthday to you, peace and blessings, and wishing you many, many more. So y'all make sure y'all show Wendy some love in the chat. Y'all make sure y'all show her some love, some birthday love in the chat, man. Let's do it. All right, let's get the show started. Give me 1 second here. Let me pull this up.
Turn the lights down.
And one thing I will say is, and I always say this, but one, make sure you hit that like button. Super chats will stop the show. Super thanks will stop the show. Anybody that joins the ARP family or gives an ARP family, that will stop the show as well. Appreciate the love and support, man. Cash apps, everybody that supports the channel via Buy Me a Coffee. I really, really appreciate that, man. I do not take it for granted. And y'all make sure y'all show Wendy some birthday love in the chat today. Shout out to you, Wendy, man. Happy birthday.
And just put this on. It's right behind you. Johan.
There's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land. We require no permission from you, from the president, from no one.
All right, so let me show the full video here. Give me 1 second.
There's nothing you can do. There's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land. We require no permission from you, from the president.
So just so you guys knows, to give you guys some context real fast, this is the actual video that was shown in the Oval Office. And it's a little louder, so I wanted to show that, but I wanted to start off just to let it be known, like, hey, this is, President Trump, South African President, Ramaphosa. They're sitting in the Oval Office, and this is the video that was shared. As you can see, as you saw, in that previous clip there, or that video, it's not as loud, but I wanted to show you guys the entire video here. Trump came with the receipts, man. He came with the receipts.
From no one. We don't care. We can do whatever he wants to do. Who are you to tell us whether we can occupy land or not? We are going to occupy land. Yes. South Africans occupy land. That's who we are.
Honorable
Do whatever
member,
you want to
Deputy
do.
Speaker,
You can
Deputy
withdraw my
Speaker,
membership from
Deputy
this
Speaker.
useless parliament.
Honorable. Yes, honorable member.
Must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of a revolutionary act. Shoot to kill. Yamaza. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer. Brr, pa, pa, brr, pa, pa. To kill, Yamasa. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer.
The mayor of DA in PE is a white man. So these people, when you want to hit them hard, go after a white man. They feel a terrible pain because you have touched a white man. Not because Mashaba and Soli will not be touched. They will be touched, don't worry. But we are starting with this whiteness. We are cutting the throat of whiteness.
Shoot to kill. Yamaza. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer. Brr, pa, pa, brr, pa. Shoot to kill. Yamaza. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer. Brr, pa, pa.
I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I'm saying to you, we have not called for the killing of white people, at least for now. I can't guarantee the future.
Yeah, but I mean, you'd understand somebody watching that, especially as it gets shared on Twitter, they freak out. It sounds like a genocidal call.
Cry babies.
Uzotuchulwa uliphunu sizokushaya uzobaleka tu sizobatula bazobaleka tu sizobatula bazobaleka tu.
Who will expropriate land without compensation, whether they like it or not. If they object, they can seek refuge in America.
All right, man. Woo. Yeah, that's that's something else, man. That is something else. And I would say that this is I'm surprised that this was played in the Oval House, in the Oval Office, not the Oval House, but in the Oval Office. But what we just witnessed is what was played in the Oval Office, and it may go down as one of the most remarkable foreign policy moments of the decade, not because of some carefully choreographed summit or, some diplomatic breakthrough, but because President Donald J. Trump did something that no other American president has ever had the courage to do. Has never had the courage to do. He literally looked a foreign head of state in the eye, and in this case, South African President Ramaphosa, and exposed a brutal truth the global media has spent years trying to ignore. And in a meeting with Ramaphosa, the South African, and other South African officials, President Trump confronted the rising racial violence and state-endorsed policies targeting white farmers in South Africa. But he didn't just bring it up. He backed it up with receipts. With the cameras rolling, Trump directed staff to turn down the lights and roll a video montage showing South African political leaders, elected officials, making open, violent threats against the country's white farming population. This wasn't internet speculation or some fringe blog post. Again, this wasn't internet speculation or some fringe blog post. These were real clips of South African politicians calling for land seizures without compensation and, shockingly, even advocating violence. And Trump essentially said, this is real, and I want the world to know about it. And of course, even with the receipts, this isn't somebody writing about this. This is somebody typing, and saying, hey, this is happening in South Africa, on some, website that's out there that people may say isn't real. No, this is actual footage. He put together a montage of footage. The guy that was kind of leading things, I don't think he's a part of the party that the current president is, South African President Ramaphosa, that he's a part of. But his name is Julius Alima. I believe that's his name, if I'm not mistaken. And he kind of runs, I guess another party that's not necessarily in charge, but there are people that are a part of what they would consider, I don't know, it's not Congress. I think they're parliament, over there. That are a part of that particular party. So even with clips of South African leaders calling for, white genocide, essentially, even then, CNN goes on to call it a debunked conspiracy theory. Said these are just conspiracy theories. He literally brought all the evidence and they're still denying it. Now, evil is evil. Simple as that. It doesn't matter who evil is perpetrated against or on. Evil is evil. Wrong is wrong. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who the perpetrators are or who the people, have had the evil perpetrated against them. Wrong is wrong, man. Seriously. Wrong is wrong.
Ramaphosa brought his best diplomatic self to this meeting, but nothing prepared him. Cyril Ramaphosa brought his best diplomatic self to this meeting, but nothing could have prepared him for this multimedia ambush that President Trump laid out with video, with printed out news stories. This was a laundry list of debunked conspiracy theories. Some South Africans are telling me this is AfriForum propaganda. AfriForum is a white Afrikaner lobby group that's considered a white nationalist organization by the Southern Poverty Law Center. Almost everything that President Trump said in the Oval Office is not true, was inaccurate, has been repeatedly debunked.
Okay, so there's video of people, thousands of people in an arena singing, "Kill the Boer, kill the farmer." And for those of you guys that aren't familiar with what a Boer is, Boers are essentially, how do you say this? They're essentially, I guess, the name for that's used, I guess, kind of interchangeably, with Afrikaners. And I think essentially a Boer was just someone who was a farmer, essentially, in a language. I think it was a Dutch Afrikaner word for farmer. boer that's now been used to kind of just, encapsulate the entire, population of people, whether you're a farmer or not. But we just saw these videos with our own eyes. We just saw these videos with our own eyes. I want to let this guy say what he said again, and then we'll keep going.
Cyril Ramaphosa brought his best diplomatic self to this meeting, but nothing could have prepared him for this multimedia ambush that President Trump laid out with video, with printed out news stories. This was a laundry list of debunked conspiracy theories. Some South Africans are telling me this is AfriForum propaganda. AfriForum is a white Afrikaner lobby group that's considered a white nationalist organization by the Southern Poverty Law Center. Almost everything that President Trump said in the Oval Office is not true, was inaccurate, has been repeatedly debunked.
Yeah. I mean, we saw what we saw, right? We heard what we heard. Now, if they're saying that these are, manipulated, these aren't real videos or something along those lines, but we saw what we saw. Seriously, we saw these videos with our own eyes. We heard the sound with our own ears. How are they debunk conspiracy theories? How? Make it make sense to me, seriously. The media suddenly appalled that there are white refugees coming to the United States while turning a blind eye to the persecution that they face. The Democrats who say that they love refugees suddenly don't because they're white. This doesn't make any sense. And the thing is that Trump has let, some refugees in. I think only 2% of them are actually, Caucasian or white, however you want to identify them. Only 2%. So the fact that they're making a big deal over, less than 60 people, just goes to show you, how wicked that agenda that they have. And they're harking on Trump saying that, there's nothing happening in South Africa, when clearly there is something going on there. We just watched a 4-minute video, and I'm sure there's so much more, but we just watched a 4-minute video. There's clearly something going on over there. And the media's reaction, it's a masterclass in denial and deflection. And CNN in particular has been quick to label Trump's claim as a debunked conspiracy theories, despite the evidence staring them in the face. And they argue that the idea of a white genocide in South Africa is a myth. It's a fabrication spread by right-wing groups. But here's the thing. Trump didn't just make this up. He showed video evidence of South African leaders openly calling for land to be taken, essentially, without compensation, and making violent threats against these individuals. And it's just hard to overstate, how gutsy this was. We got a super chat and I want to read it real quick. But beforehand, for years, you've had global institutions, leftist media outlets, and international NGOs, they've tried to downplay, what's going on over there, portraying it as, either exaggerated or politically inconvenient, but they just can't do it anymore. Trump brought in 2 golfers from South Africa to talk about the situation over there in the country. We're going to take a look at what they had to say as well. But I want to read this super chat from the Freedmen's Network. Hold up, I can't even see it. Give me 1 second. I'm sure you guys can see it, but I can't see it right now for whatever reason. What is going on with this thing? All right, we got some technical difficulties going on over here. Give me 1 second. All right. $2 super chat from Freedmen's Network said the real receipts are the white colonizers. Okay. Explain that. I'm not really sure exactly what that means, but the last time I checked, South Africans, the black South Africans, I guess, the actual indigenous people, in that country, they've been in charge now for 31 years. If I'm not mistaken, I could be off on the number, but I'm almost for certain they've been in charge now for over 30 years. They've been in charge now for 30 years. Now, I would assume, my assumption is that when it comes to the land, I would assume that the government, they wants to take the land. Somebody's got to work it because these people are the farmers. These are the people that do provide the food. And if I'm not mistaken, I think when I did a little bit of research, I think only 8%, of the black of the black population over there, it was like 8% of those people, have commercial farms or something along those lines. Now they've been in charge, for 31 years. So why haven't they even worked to replace this? I don't understand. I don't get that much. But let's check out what these golfers, have to say.
Area in South Africa that is a farmland area, Polokwane, and there is some issues up there. Obviously, my dad was.
And I'm not saying that the colonization, of Africa did not happen. I'm not saying that didn't happen. I'm not refuting, what happened pre-Nelson Mandela. I'm not refuting any of that. We know the history. Well, some of us know the history. I definitely know the history, of what has transpired over there, in Africa. But they have been in charge for 31 years, over 30 years for sure. They have been in charge. That is the case.
A proper developer as well as a part-time farmer, and some of these buddy farmers got killed. The farm is still going. My brothers run it, but it's a constant battle with farms trying to burn the farms down to chase you away. So it is a concern to try and make a living as a farmer. And at the end of the day, without farmers, there's no food on the plate. So we need the farmers to produce the food.
Farming, right? He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't even want to do what you're doing. Right? They love farming. They don't want to leave. But it's a struggle.
Yeah, and food and fresh water is the most important thing in life. Without those two things, you can't survive.
How is the water there?
The water is great. Obviously, all the water comes out of the borehole, out of the ground for us down there. But it is a battle to get the water out sometimes when all the equipment gets stolen all the time that you're trying to get the water out.
So does your family and your brother, do they feel safe on the farm?
They live behind electric fences, try and be at night safe. But it is constant whenever you leave that something could happen. And
there's nowhere to live.
Both of them has been attacked in their houses. My mom's been attacked in her house when she was 80. So it is difficult.
Now, the golfers that were brought, or that you heard speaking, these are people that were brought as a part of President Ramaphosa's, I guess, entourage, more or less. A shout out to Mike C. He says that, I wanted to pull him up. Mike C. says the Afrikaner are re-strengthening and building up to put themselves back in power. That's interesting. That is interesting. I'd like to see how that works. If they have a true democracy, would the masses in South Africa vote, for, I guess, one of these, Afrikaners to be president? Would that happen? I don't know if that would happen. I don't know. Now, if you're saying that they're setting themselves up to like forcefully take it over, that's a completely different conversation there. But the farmers, so they've said that the farmers have been, consistently, killed, and farms are consistently being burned. And this is the person that, someone who actually lives there says that, these farmers and so forth and so on, the farms are being taken or burned and so forth and so on. And these are the people that live there. They're saying this. And of course, you have CNN. CNN says that it's not happening. Shout out to Key Wine and appreciate you pulling up this morning, sister, with the $5 super chat. She says, none of this is about black or white. Carmelo, Shiloh, South Africa. It's about good and evil. don't fall into the hatred, abide by the second commandment. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I do agree with you, in your sentiment. You're absolutely right. This is not about a black or white thing. As much as they want to make this, they want to make this is truly, it is a good and evil situation. I agree with you 100%. And in my covering this is not, hopefully is really not meant to cause a divide. It's really just meant to showcase, what happened yesterday in the Oval Office. I don't think we've experienced or seen something like this, before. Typically, even in the face of atrocities from other countries, foreign leaders would come here and they would at least, quote unquote, make nice and make it look like, all is love and it's all is well, even though, leaders have come in that have committed atrocities against their own people. We've seen this happen. I think this is the first time that we've had one called out to their face. But Trump is also a different animal as well. He's just something completely different. Obviously, he's not your traditional, he's not your traditional politician. But but CNN is out there saying that none of this stuff is actually happening. And I mean, when you watch the videos and things of that nature, it's just hard to believe. And the thing is that when it comes to the colonization, of Africa, we know that has happened and it is still happening. I don't know if you guys know, but the Chinese is over there setting up shop all over the place. They're setting up shop all over the place, in Africa. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that a lot of those people over there, although they have, rich countries when it comes to resources, natural resources and things of that nature, I just think the leadership is piss poor in a lot of these nations over there, unfortunately. And Lori, you're absolutely right. I don't think anybody believes well, I'll take that back. There are some people that watch CNN and believe everything that CNN says. There are some people out there, but there was a situation, in this particular, this meeting, shout out to Kenny G with PI Style. He says, ARP fam, appreciate you, brother. Thank you very much for pulling up this morning. At one point, a reporter asked President Trump, what will it take to convince him that there's no white genocide going on in Africa? I mean, if you guys notice how the question is asked, he asked him, what would it take to convince you or to convince him that there's no white genocide going on in South Africa? I mean, do y'all guys notice the hoops that these people will jump through to maintain their narrative? I mean, it's crazy.
For you to be convinced that there's no white genocide in South Africa?
Well, I can answer that for President. It's for him. No, seriously.
I'd rather have him answer.
Yeah, I'd rather answer that. It will be.
Our president will respond to you.
Yeah, let me.
Thank you, Mr. President.
It will take President Trump listening to the voices of South Africans, some of whom are his good friends, like those who are here. When we have talks between us on around a quiet table, it will take President Trump to listen to them. I'm not going to be repeating what I've been saying. I would say if there was Afrikaner farmer genocide, I can bet you these three gentlemen would not be here, including my Minister of Agriculture. He would not be with me. So it'll take him, President Trump, listening to their stories, to their perspective. That is the answer to your question.
But Mr. President, I must say that we have, wait. We have thousands of stories talking about it. Sure. And we have documentaries, we have news stories, and that. Is Natalie here, somebody here to turn that? I could show you a couple of things, and it has to be responded to.
Yeah, sure.
Let me see the articles, please, if you would, and turn the lights down.
Yeah, so if you guys notice how the South African president, how he answered, or basically really gave a non-answer, there basically says there's nothing going on because we say there's nothing going on, and leftists in the mainstream media aren't going to ask any questions about it. No follow-up questions about it. Yeah. So, they basically say, hey, there's nothing going on because, if there was a genocide, my ministers, they wouldn't be here. What kind of answer is that to a question, like this, especially a question about one of the most evil things that could ever take place, in the world? And we know, that these types of situations have happened, in Africa amongst themselves. Different tribes warring against each other. People talk about what's going on, and they talk about some of the atrocities, that are happening, in our nation. But when you think about what's going on in Africa right now, in a multitude of countries, when we're talking about the continent itself, and we know that the continent, it's large, it's if I'm not mistaken, I believe it is the biggest, continent in the world. And, people talk about, the Afrikaners and so forth and so on. But no one wants to talk about what's actually going on. Like the Chinese right now is going in and they're basically taking over. They're going in and taking over right now. Now, they're not doing it with their military. They're just going in and they're offering some money, and there's people willing to sell out their own people. We're seeing it, which is something that we do see in this country as well, unfortunately, for a couple dollars, you know what I'm saying, for that 30 pieces of silver, willing to sell out their own people. And shout out to Billy Jack. Thank you very much joining the ARP family. Appreciate you supporting the channel. Thank you very much. But we see it right here, for a couple dollars, people willing to sell out their own people. And that's something that's been going on for, quite some time, on the continent of Africa. I mean, you have nations that are extremely wealthy. You look at the country of Nigeria and the amount of oil that they're sitting on. There shouldn't be one person in Nigeria that is poor. But they have a poverty situation because they have a class system there. And we're going to talk about South Africa a little more, just the country in itself. It's not that great of a place. It just isn't. But when Trump brings, this matter to light, hey, it needs to be celebrated, because the reality of it is this. Evil is evil. Wrong is wrong. People need to know what is going on, because, killing because of racial hatred, it's always wrong. No matter who the perpetrators are and who the people that have the evil being perpetrated against them, it's always wrong. And it's not just, when it benefits one side. Wrong is wrong. Simple as that.
Mr. President, we welcome white Afrikaner refugees here. Can you explain to Americans why it's appropriate to welcome white Afrikaners here when other refugees like Afghans, Venezuelans, Haitians have all had their protected status revoked?
Well, this is a group, NBC, that is truly fake news. They ask a lot of questions in a very pointed way. They're not questions, they're statements. We've had tremendous complaints about Africa, about other countries too, from people. They say there's a lot of bad things going on in Africa, and that's what we're going to be discussing today. When you say we don't take others, all you have to do is take a look at the southern border. We let 21 million people come through our border, totally unchecked, totally unvetted. They came from all over the world. In many cases, they're criminals. They come from prisons. They come from mental institutions. They come from street gangs. They're drug dealers. So don't say that we didn't take them. We take them. We're trying to get them out as fast as we can. And we're doing record business on that. And we just won a big case where we're allowed to send back hundreds of criminals to Venezuela. Just won that today in the Supreme Court. I'm happy to hear. But we do have a lot of people very concerned with regard to South Africa, and that's really the purpose of the meeting, and we'll see how that turns out. But we have many people that feel they're being persecuted, and they're coming to the United States. So we take from many locations if we feel there's persecution or genocide going on. And we had a lot of people. I must tell you, Mr. President, we have had a tremendous number of people, especially since they've seen this. Generally, they're white farmers, and they're fleeing South Africa, and it's a very sad thing to see. But I hope we can have an explanation of that, because I know you don't want that. It's a kind of a different meeting. Normally we have meetings, we talk about trade, and we'll be talking about trade and other things. But that certainly will be a subject that comes up. Yeah.
Yeah. So condemning the killing of white South African farmers right in the face of the president of South Africa. Those are the kind of things that need to be done. Again, condemning wrong, it should be applauded. And honestly, it shouldn't be controversial, to be honest with you. But it was a power move, that was shown right there. And he's absolutely right to shine a light on this, because like I said earlier, we have a right to know what the heck is going on. And obviously, we can't rely on mainstream media or legacy media, however you want to call it, to do their job and report on it. You can't. And a lot of times you can't do it. You can't rely on them because they're complicit in the silence. And what's happening over in South Africa today is terrifying. It's a terrifying inversion, of the apartheid system. And it's not justice, but it's revenge. And the reality of it is, for those of us that are believers, we believe that, vengeance, is the Lord's. Our job is to forgive, our enemies. Now, these people have been in charge now for 31 years. We'll say 30 plus years. They've been in charge. If I'm not mistaken, I think Nelson Mandela took office in 1994. So I think I'm about right, with my numbers here. I think it's 31 years. Move on. Y'all are in, hey, you in charge. You got the country. Move on. Shout out to my guy, Jeff, over at It's Not Your Fault, Al-Anon Recovery Channel. He says, with the $11 super chat, he says, the days of showing up to the White House smiling and getting a check are over, asks Zelensky. Accountability is here. Respect the flex. Absolutely. Absolutely. Those days of, just, slap back meet and greets and we'll just keep things nice and, we won't actually call you out to your face. Those days are over with, at least for right now anyway. At least for right now. We don't know who the next president will be and how they'll go about handling things like this, but it needs to be called out, man. It needs to be called out. And the South African government, they've pushed legislation allowing the seizure, of white-owned farmland without any compensation. This has happened. They're promoting racial hiring quotas that target white citizens for exclusion. This is happening, and they're tolerating it. And if not outright, they're encouraging it. There's a lot of anti-white hate speech going on over there. There's a lot of violence going on over there. Yet the world stays silent because it doesn't fit the narrative. And Trump didn't stay silent on this. And I want to commend him for doing so. And he laid it out right out on the table. They take your land, then they kill you. Quoting firsthand reports from those who fled the violence. And the government says that it's okay. Now, if you want to talk about systemic racism, that's definitely up there. Lord knows we've had our own issues in this country. But the inverse of it isn't right either. And Mike C., you may actually be right. The conversation around this is only happening because of Elon Musk. You may actually be right there. And it is something that it is happening all over the world. You are absolutely right there. We talked about, I think yesterday we were talking about this and we were talking about slavery. It is still happening. It's happening on the continent of Africa. It's happening, in other countries out in Asia. It is happening. It's happening in our country right now. So there's a lot of atrocities that are going on, around the globe right now. And he, honestly, who has the check, gets to kind of push to the forefront what gets talked about and what doesn't get talked about. But when you have government sanctioned policies that, that strip land and livelihood and safety from citizens based on race, based on skin color, I mean, that is a problem. That is not something that we would tolerate here in any shape, way, form, or fashion. And I don't think it's something, especially, if you're receiving money from us, and South Africa does or has, in the past received, money from us. That isn't something that, we should be allowing to happen. And Trump's handling of this meeting, it wasn't just bold. In my opinion, it was pretty masterful. I mean, he used their own tactics, video evidence, emotional appeals, and unfiltered truth to deliver a blow that they couldn't dodge. The president from South Africa, Ramaphosa, he sat there, he had a smile on his face. And as that video started to show, that smile slowly but surely, left his face. I don't know how you defend that. No amount of spin could protect, the South African delegation from what was playing on the screen behind him. And to the elites, those progressives out there who constantly lecture Americans about equity and anti-racism, Trump flips the script on them. Why are they silent about this? Why are they silent about this? Why is what's going on, out there in South Africa not worth condemning? And I'm not saying that, that Trump isn't even saying that. They're saying it themselves. Man.
Well, in my view, what makes it different is that they are white South Africans. The president, in my view, has not hidden his racism behind a bushel. In fact, in his policies, whether it's removing government workers or, in this case, admitting white South Africans while denying refugee status, asylum seekers from other countries, principally Central and South American and Black nations to come into this country. And so I think that, this policy, while it's not surprising in this action, really speaks of the underlying message in this that disrespects and shows disdain for people of color while embracing these Afrikaners now, and also expediting the process by which they can come into the country while denying that same process to other refugees.
What makes it different is that it's white South Africans. There you have it. There you have it. Millions of non-white, unvetted, non-asylum seeking, non-escaping genocide illegals pour into the country. Crickets, you hear nothing from these people. A handful of white refugees allowed in and you got outrage. Oh my goodness, man. The hypocrisy is off the charts, man. The hypocrisy is off the charts with these people. Shout out to Espaces, were the Africana refugees American citizens? I don't think so. I think they're, we're citizens of South Africa in some shape, way, form, or fashion, if I'm not mistaken. But you have these folks over on the left, they've spent years pushing for open borders, for unlimited refugee admissions, for diversity quotas when it comes to, to white South Africans. Suddenly, it's a problem. And the worst part is that they're denying the persecution that the people are actually facing. They're saying that there's nothing happening in South Africa when the evidence is it's right there. Could you guys imagine a country? I don't know who we throw out there. What's a predominantly, white nation that happens to have, some black folks in it or some people of color in it? We'll throw out there and we'll say England, or we'll say Germany, because Germany, we'll say France. France has a lot of black folks, you know, their entire football team over there. And when I say football, I'm talking about their soccer team, you know, over there, they call it football, but their entire football team is Africans. You know, it's all black folks, almost their entire football team over there. Could you imagine over in France at a football stadium, they're chanting, you know, kill the Africans, kill the Africans, kill the Africans, kill the Africans, kill the Africans. Could you imagine? I mean, it would be world news. It'd be world news. But this situation, you know, it's not the right kind of victim, you know. So, hey, you can't, you know, you can't defend this because, you know, the victims, you know, they have a lot less melanin, you know, than those who they would like to paint as, you know, the victims. And that's sad. Because the reality of it is this, man, we should be able to call out evil wherever we see it. Not just when it suits, you know, our own narrative. Evil is evil. Wrong's wrong. Seriously. Evil is evil and wrong is wrong. Simple as that. You know, and when you see it, you should be able to call it out. And the thing is that, you know, right now, the nation itself, South Africa as a nation, not a safe place overall. Overall, not a safe place. Overall, the homicide rate in South Africa right now, they have a recorded 26,232 homicides. They average 72 a day right now. That equates to 42 per 100,000 people. It's ranked amongst the highest, you know, homicide rates globally. Globally. So this isn't just, you know, white people being hurt and harmed over there. They're doing it to there's, you know, if you are a black person over there, it's not safe. And let's not talk about, you know, the assaults. Let's not talk about, you know, the sexual assaults and other violent crimes. Let's not even go there. The safety rankings of South Africa. In 2024, South Africa was ranked 142 out of 146 countries, indicating it's one of the least safest countries in the world. It's one of the least safest countries in the world for anybody that lives over there. For anybody. It's crazy. And they tell you flat out, you know, if you're a young lady, don't travel alone really at all, and definitely not at night. Make sure you use some reputable transportation if you're over there. And make sure you are abreast of what's actually going on out there, you know, because you know, you want to make sure that you're using those local safety advisories out there. It's not a good place overall. Has some of the highest HIV rates out there. Some of the highest, you know, sexual assault rates over there. It's crazy. But I want to move on from this. You know, I want to move on from this. But we got to talk about what happened down there in New Orleans. I don't know if you guys, you know, are up to date on everything that's been going on down there. But down in New Orleans, inmates escaped a Orleans Parish jail on May 16, 2025, by exploiting faulty cell locks to access a handicap cell. They removed a toilet and the sink, cut through steel bars, and squeezed through a wall, a hole in the wall. And they exited via a loading dock, scaled fences, with blankets, and fled across I-10. And for those of you guys that aren't familiar with I-10, I-10 is the highway that basically goes, man, you could jump on I-10 from Jacksonville, Florida, and it will take you all the way through to Texas. It's a pretty long highway. And, it says that a maintenance worker, allegedly aided them by turning off the water. Now, at this point now, 5 of them have been recaptured. There's still 7 people at large, at this point, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that, because that was information that came out yesterday. Maybe they've caught a few of them since then. But, yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. I want to show you all this video. This is the prison break right here. This is when they made it out. This right here, as you can see, these young folks, breaking out of jail, and the crimes that these people have been charged with is, we're talking homicides. We're talking some pretty heinous stuff. These aren't just, they got locked up for, something small, maybe some burglary or something along those lines. This ain't that. These people have committed some pretty heinous acts. Now, I understand why they, saw opening and decided to dip out of it. I get it. There was one of the young people that was caught. Dude gets out of jail. Yeah, and the maintenance worker, he's already been charged and arrested already. Now, I don't know if he'll be able to get off and say that his life was, at risk or something along those lines. But my thing is that why didn't you, just tell, the sheriff or whoever the case may be and say, hey, these dudes threatened me, and I don't know why he didn't do that. But, hey, Mike C, I'm with you, man. Open up Alcatraz. Hey, even if you do get up out of there, the chances of you getting out, making it in that water, slim to none. I think they said there's only been one person to successfully break out of Alcatraz and get through the water and get out of there. One person. That's it. But this is crazy. Crazy.
Multiple Orleans Parish inmates are still missing as new video shows 3 of them walking through the CBD just an hour after their escape. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Devin Bartolotta.
And I'm Sharice Gibson. So no new arrests today as the search continues for those 5 men, but we've still seen plenty of developments.
Now, this afternoon, the governor signed an executive order directing multiple state agencies to take aggressive action to rebuild public trust and tighten oversight.
Meanwhile, a jail employee arrested yesterday is now saying he's wrongfully been caught in the middle. We'll explain in a moment.
But first, 2 area women are now in jail, accused of helping some of the fugitives after they broke out. Our Whitney Miller has the latest.
The search continues for multiple inmates who escaped from the Orleans Justice Center. Several have been captured, but others remain on the run.
They should be arrested for doing this.
We talked with a victim of one of the captured inmates over the phone. He asked to stay anonymous, but wanted to share how dangerous it is when people help these fugitives.
I would leave town if I was anybody dealing with those 5.
Now, 2 people are behind bars, accused of helping some of them after they got out. 32-year-old Courtney Harris of New Orleans and 38-year-old Cravante Baptiste of Slidell were arrested. State police say Harris was in contact with one escapee who is still missing, and she allegedly drove 2 others around the city. Baptiste is accused of helping Corey Boyd, one of the inmates now back in custody. Investigators say she stayed in contact with Boyd and brought him food while he was in hiding. Boyd was arrested near Iberville and Treme. Right by this gated apartment complex, it's where officers focused their search before taking him into custody. At a press conference, state police made it clear helping fugitives is a dead end.
If you are helping and assisting these fugitives, allowing them to remain uncaptured and not brought to justice, there will be consequences.
Harris and Baptiste are charged with felony accessory after the fact, a crime that carries up to 5 years in prison.
The 2 that was arrested last night, they got 5 years they got to deal with now.
Frustration is growing in the community over how authorities have handled the escape and the ongoing search.
I mean, on the other hand, I think that the sheriff should resign her position because it seems like she doesn't know what she's doing, and I think that the jail doesn't know what they're doing either.
There is a $20,000 reward for information that leads to the capture of each remaining escapee. In New Orleans, Whitney Miller, WWL, Louisiana.
One Orleans parish.
Now, this is ridiculous. Dr. Silla said, Bum Keisha loves Pookie. Unfortunately, you own to something, man. Unfortunately, you are on to something. This is insane. Two people risk their lives. So they're looking at 5 years in prison behind this. They're looking at 5 years in prison behind this. The maintenance man, he's looking at, probably 5 to 10 years in prison behind this. It's crazy. Now, one of these young dudes, and I want to show, I don't know if maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't show you guys the full picture of the mug shots of these people. But one of the dudes, the first person caught, when he got out, his first night out, he goes to one of his friend's house and they get online and he gets caught because he decided that he's going to get on some live. I don't know if it was Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X. I'm not sure what he got on, but he gets on a live and it's like, oh, I'm fresh out, fresh home. They locked his behind up quickly. I think he was the youngest one, 17, 18 years old. It's insane. It's insane.
Sheriff's Office employee is also facing charges related to the jailbreak. Tonight, we're hearing from his defense attorney.
He claims he was caught up in the middle and was only fulfilling a maintenance request ordered by a deputy. Lily Cummings explains.
Michael Kennedy says his client, 33-year-old Sterling Williams, is innocent.
That he was used as a tool by the escapees and is being used as a fall guy by Sheriff Hudson.
The defense attorney admitted that Williams turned off water to the cell 10 inmates eventually escaped from, but says there's more to the story.
He was told by a deputy there was no work order. He asked, and the deputy convinced him that as he was there, could he just look at it? He assessed the situation, determined he would have to shut off the water to fix it, which he did in his role as jail plumber.
The inmates were then able to saw through these steel bars and escape behind a toilet. Court documents show one of the escapees, Antoine Massey, allegedly threatened to shank the worker if he refused to turn off the water.
He didn't take this as a threat. He wasn't acting out of fear. He was taking this as normal jailhouse banter.
Kennedy says Williams worked at the jail for 5 years and has never been arrested. Now he's facing 10 counts of principal to simple escape and 1 count of malfeasance in office. Hudson previously said 3 OPSO employees have been suspended. It's unclear if Williams is included in that number and how many are deputies or staff.
As part of our corrective action plan, several OPSO employees have already been suspended without pay. More disciplinary actions are under review.
Williams' bond is $1.1 million, an amount his attorney says he can't afford.
They are way out of bounds. That is completely ridiculous.
Now he's waiting on his next hearing at a different, undisclosed jail. Lily Cummings, WWL, Louisiana.
And Williams' next court date is June 17th. We have reached out to the Sheriff's Office for more on those suspended, but have yet to hear back. And if you know anything about where the 5 remaining escapees may be, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers. Remember, there's a $20,000 reward for information that leads to an arrest.
Yeah, this is crazy. The crazy thing, too, is no one wants to take any responsibility for this. Not the mayor, not the sheriff, not the superintendent. No one wants to take. No one wants to take responsibility for this. Here's the sheriff right here. This is the sheriff. Give me a second. Let me pull it up. This is the sheriff right here. Uh-oh. Really? I hate when that happens. Yeah, but this lady right here is the sheriff. Sheriff Suzanne Hudson. And then you got the police superintendent. If you guys recall, when they had the terrorist attack down on in the French Quarter, you know, you had the older white lady who is the police superintendent. This is the sheriff. Everybody that's in charge here, they're all women. It's all women, from the mayor down in the city of New Orleans. It's all women. And it's been a mess. This is the sheriff speaking right here.
Look at leadership at this time.
Let's see if I can turn it up a little bit.
First, I want to begin by stating clearly and directly, the escape of 10 individuals from the Orleans Justice Center is unacceptable. It is deeply troubling to me as your sheriff, and I know it is equally troubling.
Yeah, it's kind of low. Let me see if I can find another video here. But this is wild. Seriously. This is the superintendent right here. This is the
didn't find out until superintendent. We know that these inmates went missing around sometime after midnight. The sheriff's office didn't find out until 8:30 this morning. The public was not notified until sometime after 10 o'clock this morning. How crucial is time to, number one, recapture these individuals, but also to alert partner agencies as well as the public to be on the lookout for these
Well,
people?
that's why I'm here. So I only learned about it as well. And I spoke with the sheriff, and she was going to be doing her media response, was we wanted to give her that opportunity to do.
Hey, Eric, you're such a hoity-toity DCer. He says he goes to New Orleans and he didn't like it. Hickish, like Texas with a twist of Baltimore. Y'all are hoity-toity daggone DC folk. Always got y'all nose in the air.
To do so, and I understand that she has, but we were not going to wait. So when we learned about it, we knew the immediacy to at least inform the public. Even if we didn't have pictures ready and all of the names ready, we didn't have that either. But we need.
Now think about this. There is a prison break. We're talking people who have committed homicide and things of that nature, or at least been arrested for homicide. And they decided to not tell anybody for hours. They decided to not tell anybody for hours. Come on, man.
We need to let our public know. Again, if you see something and you feel that it's not, a hunch is okay, folks. You just call us and we're going to check that out.
Do you feel like she should have notified sooner?
You know, something, we'll deal with that at another time, but we are working collaboratively as we always have. But we, wanted to immediately notify our public because we knew that these escapees would be in our city.
Is it concerning to you that you all were not notified until 10:30 when they knew about this at an 8:30 head count?
Of course, it's concerning. Of course it is. But these are things that we can work out. The issue is more immediately,
How many people will be fired behind this? How many people will be fired behind this? And I'm not talking about the 3 people. We know they're going to get fired. The maintenance man, he done. The 2 women, that were driving around, they're done. They're going to jail. But how many people will be fired behind this? Somebody dropped the ball. Prisoners escape and no one hears about it. They don't even tell the police department. How many people are going to be fired behind this?
immediate, then are we concerned? The issue is, but it's unlikely.
How were you all able, NOPD, able to apprehend that one escapee who is in custody?
If I'm not mistaken, it was through a camera. Is that right? Now, y'all, we have, through Project NOLA, the cameras do have facial recognition technology. I'm not going to get into it other than to tell you this is the exact reason why facial recognition technology is so critical and is well within our boundaries of the ordinance here, because we are allowed to use facial recognition technology in an event just like this. Okay, and so we are already using our technology to leverage and help us, and I believe that was how we got an identification.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, mind you, that lady that was just speaking, she's also her name. She's also the individual who said that she didn't know that the barriers came up. You know, down there at Bourbon Street, didn't know that the barriers came up to keep cars from driving down Bourbon Street. She said that she didn't know. These are the people that are in charge in New Orleans. These are the people that are in charge in New Orleans. And TA, y'all are a trip. This dude says the Crypt Keeper looks better. Y'all are terrible. You know, but this is the lady that said that, oh, I didn't know, because they asked her, hey, why didn't you have the barriers up there on Bourbon Street? You know, why didn't you have the barrier? Oh, she was like, oh, I didn't know that those barriers. How are you the police superintendent and you don't know all the safety measures, you know, of the city that you're supposed to be, you know, in charge of keeping safe? How does that work? Seriously. So 12 people, so you had 12 people escape. 5 of them have been arrested thus far. They caught one dude. He was on live. They caught another dude who was sleeping on a park bench. They caught another guy who was sleeping on a park bench. So a lot of these guys, they didn't have anywhere to go. You know, they didn't have a plan on what to do if they got out. At least, you know, so far, because most of those guys, they were caught, you know, pretty quickly. And it's just, yes, Seabergy. One dude went live at his friend's house talking about he just got home. He got arrested. He was the first one to be arrested. Of course. First one to be arrested. He went live. But you know these young people, man, they can't help themselves. These young people can't help themselves. They got to do everything on social media. Everything. I haven't been, and I like going to New Orleans, but I haven't been to New Orleans in a while. It's been probably a couple years since I've been down there, but I like going down there. The food's great. You know, if you're a foodie, the food is phenomenal. But yeah, Dion, this dude went live. If I can pull the video up. Give me a second. I want to pull this up just so you guys can see it. It's ridiculous. Yeah, this particular guy right here. Here you go.
Man, nigga know I hit a bag on my boys. And I'm about to go with a 2. Get up with me. Alright. You fresh out, huh? Fresh out of jail. Stop playing.
A few moments later.
He wasn't even out. He was out a couple hours. You can't make it up, man. This is what it says. You can't make it up. New Orleans, Louisiana inmate Kendall Myers, who escaped jail, arrested after going live on IG with the game. This is crazy. You escape prison and you go and jump on somebody's live stream. Crazy. Hey, this social media thing, man, it is a drug. It is a drug. This is the list, you know, the folks that have been caught thus far. It's mainly the young folks, you know, that's been caught so far. So right now they got 4 on here. There's actually been 5 that's been caught and arrested thus far. But like, how dumb can you be? Like, the last place that you need to be if you're going to break out of prison is on somebody's live stream. Golly, man. The crazy thing is that, have y'all seen this? You know, they got betting odds on this. The last one to get caught. They're all going to get caught. Y'all do know this. They're all going to get caught. They're all going to get extra time on top of this. They're all going to get caught, but they have betting odds on this now. Folks will gamble on anything. They will gamble on anything. Yeah, it's some pretty crazy stuff, man. Some pretty crazy stuff. Seriously. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, it don't make any sense, man. I'm gonna open it up. I'm gonna drop the link in the chat here if anybody would like to pull up and call up for it for a little bit. I'm not gonna be on here too long, but I wanted to talk about that real quick because that's just something I hadn't covered. But I'm gonna put the link here. Mods, I don't know if you guys have the ability to pin this, but if you have the ability to pin it, please do so. If not, let me know, and then I can jump in there and I can do it myself. But this just doesn't make any sense, man. Seriously, it just doesn't make any sense. They said there was two people that they were just wandering around the city. So they broke out, I guess, because they knew like, hey, we're about to get life. I'm never getting out. This is an opportunity to get out. And, maybe it was, one of those things. That's the only thing that I could think of is like, maybe they just assume like, hey, we're about to get life in prison. This is the one opportunity to escape, to get some freedom. And, okay, I got to pin it. Okay, I'll pin it myself. Give me a second here. All right, I got it pinned up in there. So yeah, feel free, call in. Anybody, I'd love to hear from you guys. If you have questions, or if you want to add anything to the stream today, I'd love to hear from you guys. But this is crazy. You can't make it up, man. But they did catch the youngin on live. He was the first one to be caught. It's so ridiculous, man. It's so ridiculous. All right, Wendy, take care. Enjoy your birthday, Wendy. Enjoy your day. Be safe out there. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Well, we do have Delinda, we do have a Supermax prison. It's in Colorado. It's the Colorado Supermax. So we do have one. It is definitely there. Looks like we got Billy Jack that just pulled up. What's going on with you, man? How you doing today? Billy Jack, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, I guess he can't hear me. All right. Well, appreciate Billy Jack pulling up for a brief second. But yeah, we definitely have it's in Colorado, the Colorado Supermax. It is there. We do have one. Oh, snaps. Oh, okay. I was wondering what that was. I was like, what am I seeing? What am I looking at here? But okay, so we got the super chat that's showing up, showing the comments on stage. Okay, we'll pull that off. But yeah, man, but anybody that would like to pull up today, man, please do so. Yeah, that Supermax prison that's out there in Colorado, man, no, it's definitely no joke. And it's in the mountains in the middle of nowhere. They house some pretty tough people, in that prison. Kiwan, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there's a Supermax out in Terre Haute or not. I mean, because you got the different levels, and Supermax, if I'm not mistaken, is a federal facility. I don't think any states have a what would be considered a Supermax. I don't think any states have that. I don't know if any states have a actual Supermax. Now I know like the states, they have maximum security. I don't know if they have like an actual Supermax. That I'm not sure of. But yeah, that situation is something else. Diane said, "Don't trust Colorado sanctuary state." Yeah, it is, but they do. But you got to think the facility that's in Colorado, that Supermax prison, it's a federal prison, so it's federal lands. They ain't a whole lot that the state folks can do about it. You know, although they are some kooky creatures out there in Colorado. All right, Dr. Silla, I'm gonna hold you to that. You know, she says I'm gonna pull up, but you know, she's got something to do. But I'm gonna hold you to that. I'm gonna hold you to it. All right, we got Billy Jack up in here. What's up, Billy Jack? How's it going, man?
Good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Yes, sir. I can hear you just fine.
Good, good. Okay.
What do you have for us today?
It's going good. I'm enjoying your show.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man. Definitely appreciate it. I guess we do have an audio. There must be an audio delay from you being able to hear me. Oh, there's definitely an audio delay.
Well, this story about the
Billy Jack, I'm gonna kick you out. Call back in. Call back in. You're freezing up on me. What's up, Crystal? How you doing today, sister?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hey, Billy Jack, when you get a chance, pull back up. There's some technical difficulties going on with your computer there. I don't know what's going on, but there's some technical difficulties there. But what do you have for us, Crystal? How you doing this morning, sister?
I'm doing well. I was doing my TikTok live while having you in the background because I was telling people about exactly what you were talking about this morning. I was talking about how the president handled that situation, and I loved how he handled the South African president. That was key because, you know, we can't keep lying about situations. We can't don't sit down. I don't like when people play with people's intelligence, and that's what Trump said. Do not play with my intelligence. We know what's going on over there. Stop acting like we don't know. And you're complicit. You're allowing this to happen over there and you're not doing anything about it. And I think it goes back to what we talk about all the time. Wise, you know what we talk about, that brokenness and unforgiveness that people walk around with and don't deal with this situation. So what happened in apartheid was a horrible thing. It was horrible. But at the same time, what is happening now is even worse. And the fact that people aren't saying we need to get out of this ridiculous hamster wheel. We are in this toxic hamster wheel of continuing to perpetuate the bad behaviors that we don't want happening to us. Why do we keep doing that? We need to get out of this space. Don't you?
I got a question. That popped up, and I do agree with you. I agree with everything that you said. Aaron, who was on the panel last week, he asked this question. I want to give it to you. I'll answer the question as well. But he says, can you please tell us if racism still exists from the dominant society, and does it have an effect on society? And who are the power brokers of racism? That's a
my buddy Aaron
question there.
My buddy Aaron. It's so funny because I was just on TikTok. I was having a conversation with a woman who's part of the Innocence Project, and she's working on helping to get innocent people that are in prison right now out. And we were discussing about racism, and I explained to her, are there still racist people? Yes. Will I say the system is if there's still systemic racism and oppression and things of that nature? Wise, I don't believe that, because anything that I want to do, I can do. I don't see anybody stopping me from being able to achieve whatever I want to achieve. It's up to me if I'm going to be able to move ahead in life or if I'm going to be stuck in the past and not getting ahead. So I honestly think, don't mind me, Wise. I was like, don't let my computer die right now. I honestly think that people seem to believe that there's this entire system that's trying to take us down. You know what I think there is? As I was telling my people on TikTok, I said, there's a classism. There's 100% classism. And we watched during the 2020 to 2024, during the Biden eras, they were really trying to erase the middle class and just keep it either super rich or poor. There was not going to be a middle class. The rate they were going, there was not going to be a middle class. And so I think that is what it is. And I think the power brokers are those extremely rich people that want to take out the middle class. And those are the power brokers. And the power brokers are any race. Because as I was just explaining to somebody on my live, you have people that are like the Jasmine Crockett's, the Roland Martins that are Black people. You have the, dare I say, the Oprahs that they continue to convince Black people that listen, the man is trying to take them down. You can't get ahead, but they're still filthy rich. So it's not just white people. It's the really rich people that have this secret space, and they decide who is who and what is what, and who gets ahead and who doesn't in their eyes. Now, me as a Christian, I don't subscribe to that mentality. You know that, Wise. I don't subscribe to that. The Lord is the one that's in charge. Nobody's going to stop me from being able to get what I need to get done. He's given me gifts and talents, and I'm going to use it. That's how I see it.
I like your answer. And for me, I guess to answer that, I will say, yes, racism exists. The actual definition, as it's presented, not the CRT definition, but the actual definition, it still exists, and it will always exist as long as mankind is walking this planet, because we are inherently evil. We'll find a way to separate ourselves. We'll find a way to discriminate against one another in one way or another. We'll do so. From the dominant society here in America, I can't speak to other countries because in other countries, you look at India, you look at some other nations out there, they have what you described as that class system. And when you think about the globalists and the globalist agenda, they want that to be perpetuated all around the globe, and they want a class system of have and have nots. You hit the nail on the head. Something I've been talking about on this channel for quite some time, that they keep us all in a tizzy amongst each other, not realizing that if you're poor and white and poor and Black in America, you're in the same boat. And the reality of it is, what we would consider poor in America, whether you're Black or white, you're still doing better off than majority of people around the globe. Yes. That's just a fact. But when you think about the opportunities that we have here in America, as Americans, regardless of the amount of melanin that you have, you have the ability. You're absolutely right. Who is stopping you from doing something? Now, you'll have some folks that get out there and say, oh, the folks that are, the dominant society stops us from doing something. I don't necessarily agree with that. Now, some people will say, well, you're, just one of the lucky few, or you'll get somebody like not Kamala, but you'll get somebody like Jasmine Crockett or the Roland Martins who are worth millions of dollars tell you that, yeah, I made it, but you can't. And I just don't subscribe to that, and I watch my parents who, we didn't come from a whole lot, probably very similar to your parents, didn't come from a whole lot. And I watched them build together and grind and build something that they're going to be able to leave not only to their children, but to their grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And I watched them do that in a lifetime, in America, as Black people in the South. I watched them do it. Now, I think a lot of the situations that we have, in this country right now, as much as we complain, about things, we're still, even the poor people are still doing better than most, around the globe. But a lot of the issues that we have, at this point, a lot of our issues, to an extent, are somewhat self-inflicted. When you think about some of the poor choices that are being made, in these communities. And you hit the nail on the head when you said that the goal from the previous administration and the goal of the globalists in general is to eradicate the middle class. And honestly, they really want to eradicate your ability to own anything. And that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter who you are.
Nope.
You know, that whole, oh, you'll own nothing and be happy about it. Unfortunately, you have people that are willing to, go on board with that. And you have a lot of people that are fighting it, that are fighting against it. And the reality of it is, in this country, in this country, I think that, you have a wealth of opportunity. And someone had mentioned, in there, Black names alone are treated with racism. That could be true. I've heard some things, about that. As someone that worked in a space where I was a hiring manager and I got a chance to I've looked at, I don't know, thousands upon thousands of resumes. That very much may be true. When you see some crazy name out there, when somebody says, nah, that's got to be a Black person, I'm not. But I don't know how you work that out when people are in charge of hiring. I don't know how you work that out of it.
Well,
because people are going to do things that people are going to be people.
Right. But
Simple as
Wise, you
that.
have people with names that are Indian that you can definitely that is quite different as well. I've met a white Shaniqua. I have met a white Latoya. Like so it's very hard for that to even pass in today. Will I say it may have happened in the past? Listen, I'm not even gonna lie. I name my children, as I always tell people, I name my children resume ready names because I want I just want them to have at that time, because I was under that mindset that if I didn't give them a specific name, I gave them Christ-like names, to be honest, because my son's name is Christian, meaning Christ-like. I just wanted them to have that type of name. But yes, D. Maria, I saw the comments. I met a white Shaniqua. It was funny, but I don't think, again, those things hold us back. I was reading the comments where they said that what about us being able to get home loans and business loans? But this is the thing that I don't understand. There are Black billionaires in this country. If they chose to, they could help get loans to us too. And so when we're upset with quote unquote white people for not helping Black people aren't helping Black people. So it's just like, I think we think about
What do you say when they say either the loan thing? I personally haven't experienced that. I bought a house. My name is it's a fairly ethnic name, and I didn't have any issues because maybe I didn't have any issues. Maybe I'm just one of the lucky. I'm just a lucky individual. But I also don't have any credit issues, either. I didn't have some of those other things that could hold you back. And I'm not saying that there aren't some things that have happened, in the past. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying that, there aren't some people that may hold, a certain resentment. Because even for me as a hiring manager, if I saw people's resumes and like you didn't work while you were in college, for me, that was a red flag. For me, I think everybody has their own, ways that they go about doing things. But for me, if I saw like I'm maybe a little more partial to someone that has a military background, regardless of who you are, or a little more partial to those that, you went to college, but you also worked while you were in college, even if it was just a part-time job. I was a little more partial to those just because of the way that they go about work, just from my experience. And I think that when it comes to hiring, when it comes to jobs and things of that nature, I think people hire based off of who they know and what they know, and the people that they are surrounded by. On the flip side of that too, I've also seen some folks get into positions and they refuse to pull anybody else up. I've seen that as well. So when you mention, when people mention, oh, this happened because I'm Black or this, that, and the third, I don't really know how that helps anything. And I think do all that you can do, you know what I'm saying, to put yourself in a position, whether you want to buy a home, make sure your credit is on point.
Yes.
You want a job, make sure you do what you're supposed to do. As far as, making sure your resume is on point and things of that nature. You can't necessarily, if you know you got a name that's a little, on the weirder side of things, maybe just use your initials and try that out. Use your one or two initials in your last name. So people, they don't have a choice but to address you as Mr. or Mrs. whoever. You know what I'm saying? I think there are some things, but I don't know if you get around it. I don't know if you get around it because I think people are going to be people.
People are going to be, that's why racism exists in the fact that there are still racist people. And as I was explaining to somebody when I was on the TikTok, I was like, racist people even include black people. Black people can be racist, even though black people like to say black people can't be racist. Yes, black people are racist. So the thing is,
or can be, not all, but can be.
Not all, can be. The thing that I find very interesting, a lot of times, I'm not going to say all the times, but a lot of times you will hear black people say, some black people, not all, some black people say, they didn't like me because I was black, but they were late a good 90% of the time they were working there. They say they didn't like me because I'm black, but you missed like 50% of the deadlines that was giving. They didn't like me because I was black, but you are going off and being disrespectful to everybody within the office. It's like, you can't say that it's because I'm black and then the behavior is just not conducive with the work environment. I like what you said. I was definitely part of hiring before as well. And I've had people who, I remember this one girl, Wise. I know you probably have some more people to pull up, but I just wanted to tell you this. I had this one girl, she came in and Wise, before she broke the door to my the office where I was working, I could smell, and I don't know, I only know TikTok friendly language, so I'm going to use the TikTok friendly language for this. I could smell the devil's lettuce on her coming down, like she wasn't even in my office. I was just sitting there and I was like, what am I smelling? Why am I smelling this? I'm like looking around like, what is going on in this building? I'm thinking, what is happening? She opens the door and she's wearing like a shirt, a jeans skirt, and like sandals, but like almost like house shoe sandals. And I'm like, so I said to her, I was like, how can I help you? And I'm smelling it all over her. I was like, how can I help you? And she was like,
so she hotboxed in the car before she even walked in.
Yes. And she's like, I'm here for the job. I was like, yeah. I was like, now me, Wise, being a black woman that's part of this hiring process, I said, I would suggest maybe going home. I said, I could reschedule the interview for you. I said, looking out for you, I would tell you to go home, clean yourself up. I said, please don't ever whatever you do on your free time, do not bring that in here. And go take care of yourself. I said, because I can see by your resume, you're looking for an opportunity and I want to be able to give you this opportunity, but you need to. And she was like, listen, you little sellout. Wait, what?
Whoa.
She was like, I'm here to see the hiring manager. And she didn't realize that I was the one that was supposed to be hiring her. And I'm trying to help her out, but she's calling me a sellout. She started calling me names. And I was just like, ma'am, I said, you know what? I tried to help you, but let's just be real. You're not going to get this job. I said, because of the attitude that you have. I said, you walked in here smelling like you know what you smell like, looking like how you look like. And then I'm trying to help you out. And then you want to disrespect me, not even realizing that I'm the person that makes a decision if you get the job or not. And I sent her on her way. But then I'm sure she'll turn around and say, I didn't get the job because I'm black.
You're a sellout. I sat down this sellout black she's sellout, wouldn't even hire me.
This is what I'm talking about. Man. This is what I'm talking about. I will say this.
Yeah, that's sad.
I'll say this before I leave. I was just saying to the woman that I was speaking to from the Innocence Project, I said to her, the people within our community, especially those who have fallen to crime and things of that nature, if we take the creativity, the intelligence, the wherewithal, if those people take that same type of skill set they use to fake the system out, whatever crime they were doing or whatever, and put that into good, do you know how far along we would be? Do you know how how far ahead do you know how much success our community would have? Do you understand how much we would accomplish if we stop sitting down living in the mindset that we are oppressed, we can't get ahead, and actually trust that God is bigger than racism. God is bigger than oppression. God is bigger than anything that the devil claims that he puts out there that has everyone feeling like they can't get ahead in life. If you tuned into God and walked in that freedom, do you know how much you can get accomplished in life instead of sitting down here listening to the fake civil rights leaders that continue to tell you, I've made it, you can't make it, and this is why. Because the man is keeping you down. If we got out of that mindset, wise, we'd be so far.
Would be a lot better. Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I agree with you on that. You know, I just refuse to operate as a victim. You know, and I refuse to push a victimhood narrative. I think there's so many people out there. They're really, really fast to do that because they'll say, well, look at the hood. You know, and as someone who grew up in these neighborhoods in the early stages of my life, and have family members that were in those same neighborhoods, the thing that I noticed and what's kind of shaped, you know, I guess my worldview today when it comes to that particular situation is, and they're just looking at my own family, those that chose to say, you know what, I don't want to live like this, and I'm not, and they put some real effort in to not doing those things, to gaining a skill set that's in demand, to pushing themselves, you know, and really helping to pull themselves up and to push themselves to success. Those people are doing well for themselves in my family. And you have others that decided that I ain't never leaving the hood and I don't have any intent on doing anything. Those people they're still in the hood and they're not doing that great. And these are people just within my family. You know, one of my cousins who did not graduate high school, you know, and he, you know, was thugging and bugging, you know, early in his life. He decided that I'm going to do something different. And he made a change in his life. And now he owns a very successful company and he's doing very well. Him and his girl, they're doing very well for themselves because he decided that he was going to take his own life into his hands and say, you know what, that I was on, I'm not going to be on that anymore. And I'm going in a different direction. And life is about choices. It's about choices. And there are so many people sitting around looking at the quote unquote dominant society and saying that you can't do something. You know, Tyreek Nasheed, for instance, I don't know if you're familiar with him. And I've watched a multitude of he's on X and he's you know, produced and directed a lot of, you know, documentaries and things of that nature out here. And he does push a lot of the victimhood narrative. But I'm like, you got out on your own and decided that, hey, I'm going to start my own production company. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put my own money up. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to try to get some other investors and I'm going to produce my own content. And he did it. And he's success. But then turn around and tell you can't do it because the white man is going to keep you from doing what I've done. Yeah, I'm successful and I drive a Bentley, but you're not going to be able to do it because you're not going to be able to do the things that I'm willing to do. And that very much may be true, but it's not because you're black. It's because maybe you don't have a work ethic. You know, maybe you're too risk averse to do something along those lines, because when you do that, you got to be willing to put your money where your mouth is. And there are a lot of people that aren't willing to go out there and put that type of risk out there. So I agree. It baffles me because I don't necessarily agree, you know, with Tyreek Nasheed and his, you know, his mindset, but I appreciate his hustle and I appreciate I appreciate his mindset in the sense of, he was willing to jump out there. He know the movies that he produced. Nobody was going to put no money up for him to produce those movies. So he decided, hey, I'm going to do it my daggone self.
That part.
And I appreciate that. And that right there is a type of example that should be discussed and put out there. Like, hey, here's a man that decided that he wanted to do something and he went out there and made it happen. Now, when you start talking about black folks and the money that we have, black people are not broke in America. The spending power that we have puts us in the top 20. You know, when it comes to gross domestic product, you know, in the entire, we would be, if we were our own country, we'd be a top 20 nation. I think we'd be ranked like number 16 or 17 right now. So it's not a situation where we don't have money. There is enough money that comes through black folks' hand that they can start businesses, products, so forth and so on, and don't even need an outside source. pull the resources together and go buy up your own blocks. But we don't trust enough. We don't trust each other enough to do things like that.
Nope.
And a lot of us aren't risk averse. We're not willing to take the proper risk for fear of losing the little bit of money that you think you may have. And in order to be a success in this country, you're going to have to be willing to take a risk. And that may mean that you may lose your money. You may fail. You know, and that's a lot of reason why I was talking to one of my friends who works in sales. And, you know, prior to, you know, me kind of getting into this space, I was in a commission-based situation. And I've worked commission-based going back to 2008. And people would ask, you know, like, man, I don't know how you do this, you know. But I ask people all the time, I was like, what would you rather have? A guaranteed $60,000 a year or the opportunity to make $120,000 a year?
That part,
based off of, you know, your work, based off of your efforts, you know, and your ability. Which one would you rather have? And I've asked that question to people and they told me I'll take the guaranteed 60.
Scared.
Because that 120, it ain't guaranteed. Now you got a lot of people that's always talking about, oh, I want to start a business. I want to start a business. I'm like, well, it's not a guarantee that your business will succeed. And you're commission based when you get into that situation, because if your product sucks, you're not going to make any money. If your service sucks, you're not going to make any money. So you're commission based. And you have a lot of people that they're afraid to jump out there. They're looking for a job opposed to saying, you know what, let me start some jobs. Let me start this company and hire some people. And we don't have enough of that. And if people actually jumped out there and did those things, pulled resources together. You live in Atlanta. You're in the Atlanta area. How many times you've gone across a bus stop and see people at the bus stop with $1,000 outfit on?
Yes.
I've seen it. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen it with my own eyes. $1,000 outfit on, jeans, Gucci this, Balenciaga this. Just the shoes alone is $600. So everything else, I mean, like, come on, man. I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes. People at the bus stop with $1,000 fit on. Don't tell me you don't have money. You could have took that $1,000 and bought a daggone hot dog cart and been making $300-400 a day.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of it is it's a lack of work ethic, and you have a lot of people out here playing victim. Because they don't, it's easier to play victim and say, give me something, you owe me something, than it is to put your money where your mouth is and go put the work in. It's easy to do that.
I agree. Somebody said nobody does this to whites. What? Listen, why?
Nobody does what to whites?
So I was trying to see what they were saying. Nobody does something to whites. And I was like, is he talking about what we're saying? Oh, he's saying that they don't do it to white people. He said every single time a black person is arrested, they search his arrest history. I think they do that
for everybody.
They do that to everybody.
They do that to everybody. One of my favorite cousins is a police, and my best friend is a police, you know, in Atlanta. They do that to everybody. You get arrested, they checking your daggone. As a matter of fact, when they pull you over for a speeding ticket, they're checking to see if you got warrants.
Yep. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter
who you are.
They're checking everything. But I agree with everything that you said, Wise, because I was telling, like, when I was talking to the people on TikTok, I was telling them in my neighborhood where I grew up in New York, they actually did a whole YouTube special on my neighborhood about how you better have an escort walking in there, because it could be problematic if they don't know you in the neighborhood. It could be very problematic for you, right? But if you went down my block, and this is what I'm talking about, even the simplest thing of taking care of your neighborhood. When you walk down the block that I was living on, the community, the neighbors, they didn't want that type of mindset for the children that were growing up in there. So I'm talking about, if you walk down my block and the block right after me, it literally looked like some kind of cornucopia of peace, and it was tranquil, like flowers. Like, it did not look like the projects and everything that was around it, because they were like, listen, we're going to take care of our neighborhood. We want to give better to our kids. We want our kids to see that they can have better in life. We want them to understand there's nothing that you can't achieve as long as you put your mind and effort to it. And I think that is what our people miss. You talk about the $1,000 at the bus stop. I used to work within one of the businesses that I had before was an event planner, and I would work with some of the promoters here in Atlanta, and it would baffle me the $1,000 outfits that they would have on, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on bottles, and they can't pay their rent sometimes. I'm like, this is what you chose to spend your money on. You chose to show out instead of invest in yourself and do better. You chose to give the image that you have money instead of actually build up true wealth that you can pass on to generation and each generation after you. This is why I say there's a lot of work that our community has to do from within and stop blaming everybody else outside. It has to start from within. It has to start
the brother,
from
and you're absolutely right. The brother mentioned, he wasn't talking about the police looking it up or calling it out. He was talking about the media, putting that out there. And that very much may be true. But what we do know is the media, 90% liberal.
Exactly.
90% liberal. You know what I'm saying? And these liberals out here who, they say they're your friend, but they will put you out there in a heartbeat. They don't care.
The way they tell stories.
And again, I'm not saying that racism don't exist, because man is evil. Man is inherently evil. And those are things that really they need to be raised out of an individual. And a lot of times, whatever it is that they feel, whether you like white people or black people, a lot of that stuff is raised. That's given to you in your upbringing. And I mean, we see it. We see it. So I'm not saying that, some of these things, and the media, they may go on there and say, if you do something, your whole rap sheet might be, out there. Maybe they use it to, for context. I don't know. And I'm not saying that it's right. Especially when you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. But what we do know is when you start talking about the media, 90% liberal. And but for whatever reason, you have black folks continuing to support these people who don't mean you any good.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying?
They're liberal.
But the reality of it is, and Mike C, he said it, and shout out to him. He said it. Nobody cares. Work hard. Kill the race conversations every time. Absolutely.
Amen.
Absolutely. Work your tail off. Simple as that. I don't know too many poor, hardworking people.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Now, you might not be rich. I'm not saying that working hard will make you rich, but you for daggone sure will not be poor if you're willing to go put the work in. That is for sure. That is the truth in the United States of America. Now, if you got a little luck, maybe you hit the genetic lottery, something along those lines. Hey, you could be a millionaire. But this is the one country in the world that you could start off at the bottom 10%. And with hard work, you can at minimum work your way to the middle class. At minimum. Now, people will say, black folks got it bad and this, that, and the third. Majority of black people are actually in the middle class in this country. The majority. Now, we may not be majority in the top 1%, but we're definitely represented pretty well in the middle class in America. You know what I'm saying? We are definitely represented pretty well in the middle class in America. And I'm not saying that the United States is perfect. I'm not saying that, because the world isn't perfect. Man isn't perfect. But I will say this, there is no other country that I'd rather be than this one.
Amen.
As imperfect as this place is, hey, the things that we've been able to achieve, I don't see black people achieving it in other nations, to include the continent of Africa.
That part, 100%.
Just saying. Just saying. But let me pull Billy Jack up real quick. I appreciate you pulling up, Crystal. I'm gonna reach out to you a little later today because we might do I think I'm gonna do another panel show tomorrow. I'd love to see if we can get Aaron and some of these folks on. We can talk reparations. We can talk a couple things out there. I like having these types of conversations.
All right.
I think it's good. They need to be had. But I'll reach out to you.
All right.
Thanks, Crystal. Take care.
Later. Thanks, Wise.
All right. Let me try Billy Jack one more time.
Yeah. Can you
What's going on, man? I can hear you now. Yes, sir.
That's good. I had some spyware on my computer, like 400 pieces of it.
Good Lord. Okay. Yeah, that will definitely bog you down. But what do you have for us? I'm going to end the show. You are the last call. I'll give you, what do you have for us today?
What I have for you is a little bit of insight on the racism, I hope. First of all, what do you think the main cause of racism now in the United States is? I have my ideas.
You said, who do I think or what do I think?
Who and what? Actually, who would be the probably the operative word, because I believe that the race baiters like Al Sharpton, like Sonny on The View, and so forth, create a lot of ill feelings where there weren't.
Oh, you get no argument from me on that. And then I would also include your Democrat Party operatives as well. You know, a lot of those folks, you know, on the Democrats, and I would say if we could just wrap it up in a bow, I'd say it's probably liberals in general that are continuing to, you know, push it. You have the mainstream media, your you know, quote unquote liberal elites out there that continue to push this type of rhetoric to keep the masses divided.
Okay, I agree totally with you. The Democratic Party, the radical lunatic left has took over, and I hope they stay there, because if they do, they won't win the election the next time. But I'll give you some insight on what racism was like back in the day, okay?
Okay.
When I was in high school, junior high, high school, going through school, that was in the early 50s, back in Des Moines, Iowa.
Now, before I was getting ready to ask you, you answered my question. I was going to ask you where'd you go to high school at? Are you from Iowa? Is that where you are currently?
Yes, I was born in a small Iowa town in southern Iowa, and my mother moved us to Des Moines because she, you know, her job was there. But back in that day, there was no mention of racism on the mainstream media, which was actually the real media then for the most part. There wasn't any mention of it in school other than the fact that they taught us everyone was equal and so forth. And we, at my age, at the age of, you know, clear up to 17, until they started having the riots down in Arkansas, you know, and so forth, I didn't know there was racism. I had no clue. And as far as I know, no one of my peers at school thought there was racism. They just didn't know it existed until it busted out on the media with all the problems in Arkansas with, who was it, James Meredith?
With the Little Rock 4 or 5. Now, I got a question before you keep going. I got a question. Now, in the school that you went to, I know there was no mention about racism or anything like that, but the school that you went to, was it all white school? Was it a, you know, diverse school? What was your situation?
Okay, I'll explain that in detail. It was Des Moines Tech is what I went to. That was a technical school, you know, where they had a lot of tech courses like auto mechanics, welding, food crafts, and so forth. Okay, there were two. You had to be pretty smart to get in there reasonably. They wouldn't let anybody in, and they had two black guys there. Nobody ever bothered them. One of them, I remember their names. Eugene Brown was the city middleweight Golden Gloves champ. Nobody messed with him, of course. I seen him knock a guy out in the hallway once, and the conventional thought is, well, if a black guy does that to a white guy and he's the only one of two in school, they're going to rat pack him, right? That didn't happen. No one said anything. They just let it go. You know, they had a dispute of some kind, and it was over because the guy was knocked out. But Eugene was always, whenever I come in contact with him, he was courteous to me. He'd smile, you know, and say hello. And I talked to him once at school and once down at the Golden Gloves. And he was always seemed, you know, to be a smiling, happy guy. The other one was Sam Bell. He was in my auto diesel class. And he was a pretty strong guy. He looked like he'd been pumping some iron for a long time. Nobody ever bothered him. He always acted respectful with everyone, you know, always smiling, happy type. And that's all we knew of racism, except what I did see that kind of made me wonder what's going on. We'd go past East High School on the way home on the bus. You know, we had the old electric curb liners, you know, that, you know, run off the overhead wires. Oh, yeah, the bus. And we went by East High, and there was a lot of black folks there. But, you know, I wasn't aware of that until we started going by the thing every day on the bus. And but that's the extent of extent of my exposure to racism was that I didn't know anything about it except what I heard on TV when they started having the problems enrolling James Meredith, in college and so forth. And that's when it got on TV. They had so much trouble they had to cover it, and that's when I become aware of it. But it's unfortunate because today I don't like to discuss this subject even because we shouldn't even have to have this talk. In other words, it should be a thing.
I would agree with that.
It should be, and I'll tell you how I know that it is a thing of the past. I've been in Florida for 30 years now, and the entire time I used to play basketball 3 times a week, but I got kind of lazy lately. But at the basketball court, we got like about 15 in Hillsborough County. We have 15 county basketball courts. Lights stay on until about 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and about 70 to 80% of the guys that go there are black. The other 20 or 30% are Latino, and maybe 1 or 2 white guys, in a night. And that's it. But I went there for years. I never seen any incidents of racism, except one time. I remember some black had an attitude, and I overheard him making some comment, but that's been 15, 20 years ago. And that's the only indication of racism. And there was a time, I had a lot of friends there. There was a time when they had 4 or 5 teenage white dudes come there one night. And one of them was pretty big. And they started, and one of them, the biggest one, started trying to shove me around and intimidate me, put through some blocks a little harder than he had to. I said something to him, and he threatened me. He was going to whip me. I said, well, you can show me better than you can tell me. So I told him, and he didn't know what to say. He just looked at me. He said, the next time you say something to me, I'm taking you out. And he walked off. And then one of the black dudes come over to me, and he said, you know what? He said, if those guys that had jumped on you, we was ready to ride with you. And so and that's those guys, they all knew me. I played there all the time, and they knew I had nothing against anybody. You know what I mean? I treated everybody, as with respect. And that the guy come over and said, if those guys that had jumped on you, we were all going to help you.
Now, Billy Jack, I got a question. You still hooping? Now, I know you said you used to hoop 3 days a week. Are you still hooping? People want to know in the chat. You still hooping?
I'll tell you, I can win 9 out of 10 one-on-ones because of. I'll tell you, there's a saying at the court about pops. Those guys there say pops don't need no effing with. That's what they say. Yeah, that's because they've got buried time and time again. I don't know why why I've got a hook shot that almost never misses, from far out, 10, 15 feet. Goes in every time. Guy can get on top of me, and I just give him a booty bump out, or forearm sweep, like Shaq does. He comes that forearm sweep, and this forearm, use him for balance. I put my arm against him, and that hook shot goes in every time, and people sit there and laugh at the defender. But I can still do it. Fox News did an article on me, was it 10 years ago when I was 73, and their sportscaster and cameraman come out and done a bit for the sports show on me one night, and the sportscaster tried me out. He got beat, and his name was Kevin McDonald. Was that his name? Yeah, but he was a sportscaster at Channel 4 Fox, and he got beat. He tried, so you
mean to tell me, hold up now, Billy Jack. At 73, you were still hooping 3 times a week?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness, dude, I'm 45. I retired from basketball like almost 10 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, I stopped playing.
I can, if I have a link where I can send it, I can send you the. It's no longer on the internet because Fox changed their computer setup, and I guess they lost the article, or the video, of that sportscast. But I have a copy of it on paper. I can send you with a photo, but I think
I'd love to see that. I would love to see that.
They said, "Don't call him Pops" was the name of the article, because I told them something to the effect when they called me old man. That was a mistake because I kind of upset me. Here's a motivation. Yeah, I can still do it. Matter of fact, I probably got about 50 barangay one-on-one titles over in the Philippines.
Really?
I'll go over there a time or two a year. And basketball and chess are two very popular pastimes there.
Yeah, they like basketball over there big time. That's huge. Basketball's huge in the Philippines. Yeah.
Have you been there?
I have not. I've known a couple people that have gone over there, and I know a couple people that currently live over there. And you see it. They talk about basketball being big over there.
That's another story. That's it's kind of like walking on water. You have to know where the stumps are if you're going to go over there. It's that simple. Because Americans are looked on as a kind of like a bird nest on the ground. Okay. In other words, they think it's okay to rob you or steal because they say you can afford it. Because
you can afford it. Yeah, you got it. Well, we're kind of treated like that everywhere. You know what I'm saying? We're pretty much treated like that everywhere. They look at us as they consider us to be rich people over here.
Yeah, well, in the Philippines, we are a poor person under the poverty line in the United States is rich over there, because really it's a struggle. A lot of people have trouble getting enough money for their food every day. And that's
absolutely.
There are very few jobs, no jobs. The 400 families rule that country, and they don't care about the people. Forget that. All they do is, matter of fact, I'll tell you what, they exploited the people so badly, and anybody that tries to organize, for example, student groups and so forth, they have a death squad to take care of them. They're done. You forget it. They're going to get picked up. And they've killed something like 1,000 journalists in the last 15 years. You get politicians, they kill each other. If they have a mayor's contest, in one of the smaller cities, and the guy that wins better watch his back, because somebody might bust in the house later that night and shoot him. Yeah, so it's so if you win the election, it's particularly dangerous. But at one time when I was there, did you hear about the anti-drug program that the previous president had over there?
Yeah, absolutely. Duarte, right?
Well, when they estimate they killed between 20 and 30,000 people, that's not an exaggeration. The entire police across the whole country was in on the project. When Doherty said take them out, that's what he meant. If you were a drug dealer or a user, they might let you out of jail one day, and you might make it one block. And somebody pulls up on a motorcycle and caps them in the head with a .45. That's the death squads. They were countrywide. I played basketball with them back in about 2003. I stayed in a partel where Duterte, when he was mayor of Davao City, he was the head of the death squad there, even though he just denied knowing them. And all these guys would hang out at that little cafe that was part of the partel I stayed at. And I got to know the guy there pretty well. The owner, he's pretty decent guy. Him and his wife is in the UK now. She was a nurse, and they immigrated. But he owned this partel, and I'd stay there every time I went there. And I came in one day on the plane, and I had read an article in the newspaper that said shadowy vigilante group kills 2 teenage snatchers. Snatchers is the same as a pickpocket, except any woman wearing jewelry better watch it, because they're going to come by on a bicycle and snatch it as they go by. Anyway, 2 of them had been killed, shot dead. And I asked him, I said, who's killing all these all these snatchers. And he said, well, we know them. I said, really? He said, yeah, that's the guys that the police that hang out here at the bar and at the, and at the cafe. And I knew there was always 4 or 5 of them in there, but I didn't, and I knew they were police, but I didn't know they were the death squad. But it turns out they were. And when they played basketball twice a week, they'd rent the country club basketball court for a couple hours. So he invited me to go up there, and we played with him. And the future president of the Philippines, Duterte, he played. He wasn't that great a player. He never said a word. But he played with them, so he knew them. So all that stuff about he didn't know anything about him is nonsense. I seen him playing basketball in their team. At any rate, and another time I was sitting in the cafe one night, and the only one left there was, this captain from the Davao Police Department. He was in with the PNP, the Philippine National Police, on the death squad. And he said, when we catch a thief over here, we make him disappear. He said, do they do that in America? And I said, no, we have a legal process.
Of course not. Yeah, we got a process.
But they throw them in the river there. They catch a thief or a snatcher, they cap them and throw them in the river. And then another one asked me, I was in there one night and I talked to a different one. And no, this is the same guy. He asked me if I wanted, he said, why don't you meet my sister? Would you like to meet her? And you know what I said, right?
Yes.
What would you say if a guy on the
probably not at all. I'm good.
I got somebody. I said I got one. I know, because that would be a really bad deal, because if you got involved with his sister, you couldn't leave her. You couldn't leave.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a good thing.
The big brother, and knowing that they have no compunction about pulling up on a bike and capping somebody. Nah, it ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, you don't want no parts of that.
Yeah,
but I appreciate you pulling up, Billy. I gotta get out of here. My headset is about to die, but I do appreciate you pulling up. We're gonna have you get back up here again once again. And everybody, hey, you got a lot of compliments on the hat today, man. People are really feeling the hat, and they're surprised that you still hooping in your 80s. Wow.
This is from the Philippines, and not like they cost they used to be 80 pesos, which was about $1.50. And I left I left one out in the rain in the driveway one day accidentally. It got run over by heavy trucks and everything. And when it dried out, it was like new.
Oh wow! It looks like it looks like it's just a full-on leather hat that's been handcrafted.
Well, I don't know what this material is. It may be, but they make a lot of them over there. A lot of the big department stores stock them, and their prices.
Oh, okay. So 80 pesos, $1.50. Wow.
Yeah, a bucket. Now they're about $2.50. The price went up, but the first one I got was probably 10, 15 years ago. And the thing lasts forever. Like I said, you can leave it out in the rain, run over it with a truck, and when it dries out, it's like new. Unbelievable.
I heard that.
But I'm glad somebody liked my hat.
Well, I appreciate you pulling up this morning, Billy. Definitely appreciate you supporting the channel. Definitely, and thank you for joining the ARP family, man. I definitely appreciate that as well.
Well, thank you for having me on the air. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Thanks. Yeah.
You have a
Thanks,
good day.
Billy Jack. Thank you, sir. Take care, man.
Gotcha.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. Shout out to Crystal and Billy Jack pulling up this morning. That was pretty awesome. Some good conversation. Hey, a lot of times, when we get on these conversations, around, race and things of that nature, it can get a little testy. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that you have a lot of people out there that are still harboring feelings or a lack of forgiveness from some of the things that are happening in the past, and also a lack of self-accountability for how to move forward. But, I love having these conversations. I think they're good. They're informative. And we don't always have to agree. But I think civil discourse is extremely important. I think it is. I think civil discourse is extremely important. But I appreciate you guys pulling up this morning, as always. Make sure you hit that like button if you haven't done so on the way out the building. Shout out to everybody that supported the channel financially today. Appreciate you all. We will catch up with you all tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And let me show some love to Rena Martinez real fast. And shout out to maybe it's either Rena or Renee. I'm not 100% sure exactly how you pronounce that, but says she's been rocking with me since 8,000 subscribers. I think you guys know where I'm at today, but that is just crazy and humbling at the same time that somebody's been rocking with me that long. So that means that you've kind of watched the channel, kind of morph, and kind of watch me improve, in this space. And that is awesome, man. And I appreciate that, man. I appreciate you supporting me and supporting this channel. And, watching the growth, man. It's awesome. I'm still a baby, in this, and I'm still learning how to go about doing this. And Mike C, I did see your super chat, or not super chat, but I seen your chat there, and we'll definitely discuss the that big beautiful bill that passed. We got to discuss that. Not one Democrat supported no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security. I think that's a shame, and it's a travesty, man. But these are the people that are supposed to be for working people. It's ridiculous, man. It really is. But I appreciate you guys pulling up as always, man. And thank you guys for supporting the channel. Keep God first. Stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you all next time. Peace.